Published on nondetail.com.
Who funded the British East India Company? Indians funded the British East India Company. Surprised? Did we fund the British to in turn rule upon us? Do you know the story behind it? It is a story that you were never told before. It was the later half of 1600s. Aurangzeb had established a mighty rule with his conquests across the length and breadth of India, and what was considered as a flourishing economy until then, started to flourish even further, taking the Indian economy to 1/3 of the global economy, while the British economy in comparison was in single digits. However, the British, like the other Europeans such as French, Dutch, were great traders. They were trading textile, spices and diamonds in India since the early 1600s through the East India Company. East India Company enjoyed the support of the British Parliament. The company was allowed to raise its own army. Plus, the British Army was on standby whenever the East India Company needed the support with their adventures, or rather misadventures. During this era, Bengal emerged as a great free zone market like today's Singapore, and thus attracted the rich Marwaris, Jains and the other Baniya castes from the regions of today's Rajasthan, and this trade opportunity also attracted French and the British East India Company to Bengal. In 1682, the Nawab of Bengal doubled the trade tax which the British East India Company rejected. So the British Kingdom readily sent warships in support of its company and started attacking Bombay, Madras and Chittagong in Bengal. This irked the mighty Aurangzeb, and the result was the Anglo-Mughal War of 1686, also called as Child's War, named after the company's governor in London, Sir Josiah Child. This war was decisive in the favour of Aurangzeb, but he pardoned the company and allowed them to continue with their trade upon paying the imperial fine. Here is a French illustration of a soldier of the British Army requesting pardon from the Islamic Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. After the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, the decentralized Mughal rule weakened, wherein individual Nawabs started to disobey the Mughal diktats, and this marked the emergence of a stronger Maratha Empire, who easily defeated these Nawabs through their ferocious strikes. Historian William Dalrymple writes in his book The Anarchy, and I rephrase it here, "War always has a financial burden which the Bengal Nawab Murshid Quli Khan started to levy on these Marwari and the other bankers, plus also on the East India Company, which continued till Alivardi Khan in 1756, and these Nawabs tried to pressurize the family of Marwari Oswal Jain financiers, originally from Nagar in Jodhpur state, to whom in 1722, the emperor had awarded the title the Jagat Seths, the bankers of the world, as a hereditary distinction. Those were also the days when French and English engaged in Carnatic wars in India, trying to fortify the trading areas and routes. Robert Clive, the acclaimed East India Company general, was sent to engage French in Chittagong, the port city, now in Bangladesh. After this engagement, when Clive was on his return back to Madras, the Jagath Seth has sent an emissary to convey that he can fund Robert Clive if he is thinking of waging war against Siraj-ud-Daulah, the new Nawab of Bengal, who just took over after the death of Alivardi Khan in 1756. Why did he think of funding the East India Company to wage war against his own Nawab? Because it meant business to him. East India Company and the Marwari, Baniya bankers spoke the same language of finance and business, so they trusted the company and not the Nawabs, since company honored the contracts, and paid timely interests, plus did not try to force him to share the financial burden of administration as the Nawabs did. Leveraging this money being poured in by the Jagath Seths, Robert Clive waged war against Siraj-ud-Daulah. Clive raised 2,000 of Indian sepoys. Though still a small fraction of Nawab's army, he could still wipe the Nawab out due to company's technical prowess in warfare and due to some luck as well. This Battle of Plassey in 1757 earmarked the East India Company's rule over India for over a century. European arms remained technologically more advanced than those of their rivals until the mid-1760s, when both the Marathas and the Sultans of Mysore began to bridge that military technological parity. In January 1779, an East India Company army from Bombay was surrounded and defeated by the forces of Mahaji Scindia just outside Pune at the Battle of Talegaon. The following year, on August 26, 1780, Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan scored an even more remarkable victory over the East India Company at the Battle of Polalur. William Bailey's entire division of 3,800 was first surrounded and then wiped out. Battle of Polalur was fought on the 27th of August 1781, between forces of the Kingdom of Mysore under Hyder Ali and British East India Company forces led by General Eyre Coote. East India Company by now understood that it can't survive in India with just the technological advancements. So, it needed money to raise a huge army and win wars by heavy deployments. This money came from the Jain and the Marwari bankers who dominated the 18th century Indian economy. The biggest firms of the period, the houses of Lala Kashmiri Mal, Ramchand Gopalchand Shahu and Gopal Das Manohar Das, many of them based in Patna and Banaras, now handled the East India Company's largest military remittances, taking charge of drawing bills of exchange in Bombay or Surat or Mysore, as well as making large cash loans, all of which made possible the regular payment, maintenance, arming and provisioning of the company's troops. With such finances, East India Company, a small company in London, has now raised an army so big that it was twice that of the British Army in England. Imagine a private company like Ambani, Adani or Tata having an army bigger than the India's army. This further allowed the company easy access to credit from the Bengal money market, so much so that under Wellesley, between 1798 and 1806, the company's debt in India more than tripled. By the end of the century, Bengal was annually yielding to the East India Company a steady revenue surplus of 25 million rupees at a time when Mahaji Scindia struggled to net 1.2 million rupees from his territories in Malwa. No wonder that Scindia reflected anxiously that without money it was impossible to assemble an army or prosecute a war. Since East India Company had a huge army, the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, 1798–99, saw the death of Tipu Sultan. The East India Company outnumbered Tipu's army 4-1. Talking about the size of the army, the Battle of Koregaon in 1818 decisively reduced the Marathas' dominance over India. The Battle of Koregaon in 1818 was fought between the Peshwa of Maratha Kingdom and the East India Company army comprising largely Mahars. As Peshwas gained effective control over the Maratha Empire, they also inherited the loyal and trustworthy Mahar warriors, but thereafter Peshwas never actively recruited the Mahars. Rather, the untouchable Mahars faced the worst kind of persecution during the Peshwas' orthodox Brahmanic rule. The untouchables were made to tie brooms behind their backs to sweep up the dust of their footprints and to tie pots in front of their necks to collect their spit. So, Mahars refused to serve Peshwas, as a protest against such rampant social oppression. Clinching onto this opportunity, East India Company employed them as sepoys. Remember, the East India Company had all the money funded by the wealthy Marwari and the Baniyas. This Battle of Koregaon saw Peshwa retreating even though he had more numbers on ground than East India Company, but he feared that East India Company would soon reinstate heavy deployment. Ambedkar visited the memorial obelisk erected on the spot on 1 January 1927. Today, the Dalits, the outcasts, celebrate this event every year as a victory over oppression, as a victory over humiliation. Imagine tying a pot to your neck and a broom on your back for thousands of years. So, isn't it justified to celebrate the victory over that oppression? But, this celebration is being perceived by many Indians as an act of treason, as an anti-national activity. When the reality was that the East India Company was funded by the rich Marwari and the Baniya. Forgetting which, the history of Mahars fighting for the East India Company is widely spoken about and is often condemned. But the Marwari and Baniyas funding the East India Company, the funds with which the East India Company recruited the Mahars, is neither spoken about nor even acknowledged. In fact, those Mahars had a purpose, had a reason to fight against oppression. It is also not spoken about how the then middle castes, the Bhattacharya, the Tagore, and the others took hold of lands in Bengal and became the new Zamindars through Cornwallis Code of 1793, which divided East India Company's service personnel into three branches: revenue, judicial, and commercial. This division created an Indian landed class that supported British authority across India. The point most of us miss is that, whether it's the Mahars being employed as sepoys in East India Company army, or if it's the Marwari bankers who funded the East India Company, they both were acting in favor or against a particular king and not a nation as such, since India was not yet an established country back then. So there was no question of any nationalist fervor. In 2018, during the annual celebratory gathering mostly Mahars at Bhima Koregaon to mark the 200th year of the Battle of Bhima Koregaon victory, anti-social elements started to pelt stones on the gathering, which resulted in the death of 28-year-old Rahul Patangale. The aftermath consisted of various protests across India. But the investigating authorities, ignoring the ground facts, booked several Dalit and Adivasi activists and intellectuals under UAPA, Unlawful Activity Prevention Act, a non-bailable act. This is not an isolated incident. In India it has become a common practice to imprison the underprivileged, underrepresented classes, labeling them as Maoist sympathizers.